Hey guys, Lee Page here from Nids from the Mids, and I am back. Been slacking for the few weeks because I've been non-stop working. So last time I spoke to you guys, I placed third at RTT Battlefield Birmingham. Since then, we've created some content and some cool podcasts for VT, some masterclass adverts. The academy is now open, so go and sign up for that. And then we managed to go and get a sneaky 4-1 at the Manchester Super Major. And I managed to score quite high, so an 18th place finish. It gave me 200 plus points, and then this is what's leading me now to this video. So I want to start documenting more of my gameplay and like a vlog style, because I believe that by the end of the season I will be ranked #1 Tyranid player, if all goes to plan. Currently we have Scott Morris from Carnage, who's ranked #1. He's currently 35 points-ish ahead of me, but I still do have some wiggle room, and I've got a couple of events that aren't very high scoring events. So if I can place well in the Portsmouth South Coast Super Major in 2 weeks time, then we'll reanalyze it and see where we place. But that's the goal, guys. I thought I'd share it with you. We are going to go, hopefully, for the Tyranid #1 top spot. So let's talk about my list. It hasn't really changed at all, and I feel that the reason why I'm doing well with this list, it's not necessarily powerful, it's not broken, it's just the fact that I know it inside out. I've done reps with it, I've made a few tweaks here and there, like I've explained before. I used to run 6 zone ropes, then I dropped 3 zone ropes, and I brought an extra exocrine, and I'm enjoying it. There's pros and cons to having an extra exocrine or 6 zone ropes, but that's all matchup dependent. But so far, I've played well and I've had some good finishes. So we went to the Manchester Super Major, and my first opponent was Dale, and he was running his new Eldar list, which I was terrified about. I know all about the fire dragons jumping out, split fire and Mafugan, and just deleting anything. The fact that I've got these tokens so I can't overwatch them. They can jump back into transports after they've fired. They can jump back into transports and make a move at the end of the fight phase. I knew that it was going to be really tricksy, and I basically just played very aggressive. I was really tempted with playing a little bit more cagey, a bit more reserved, but I'm glad I stuck to my guns. I'm glad I played my normal play style, because if I'd have played a bit more reserve, I would never have got a line of sight on any of those wave serpents. So I literally just full sent as many monsters, spread wide across the board to try and keep away from the fire dragon's range, and I just focus on the transports. Once the transports are gone, I can then start shooting at the fire dragons, tie them up in combat. But eventually we got the win, game 1 against Eldar. Going into game 2, we get paired with fellow VT and also Tyranid player Michael. He's also running Invasion Fleet. He's a great guy, great player. And it was just down to, you know, who goes first. We're playing Purge. Purge isn't the greatest for Tyranids. If we have a lot of bodies, again, it's matchup dependent. So to go into a guy that I know, a list that I'm very familiar with, I felt quite confident. He got turn 1. He was quite cagey coming out. And then I just thought, full send, yet again. Malceptors, Tyrannofaxes, Hive Tyrant, everything I could, just mid-board, hold the points, and just whatever I see, I kill, and that's how the game went. So yeah, that was another victory for the Tyranids. So game 3, this was my first loss. I got paired into Death Guard. I felt quite confident when I saw the list. It had a Land Raider, a few bricks of Terminators, Mortarion, and a couple of scoring pieces, but nothing that I've not dealt with before, or nothing that's too hard for me to shift. Going into the game, we rolled off. I ended up going first. I pushed up, couldn't really see too much, but I managed to kill one of his like bloat drone things, turn 1, which was great. And I was just doing damage and, you know, removing assets. And his turn 1, he wasn't very aggressive again because he was quite cagey. He didn't want to get killed by the Tyrannofaxes, so he was like trying to keep out a line of sight. Anyway, after a back and forth, coming into my round 3, I was actually 40 points up to like 17 or 21 or something like that. I had a very comfortable lead, and then the clock got the better of us. I pulled some bad cards like Mark for Death, and He chose Mortarion, he chose some guy in the backfield, which I couldn't quite get to, and this 6 brick of Terminators. So I thought, right, I'm just going to kill these Terminators, just put everything into them, try and score mark for death. But because he had half of them in cover and half of them out, the moment I put damage into them, he just removed the ones in cover, and now I can't get a line of sight. So yeah, that was a good play to him. But that game actually finished 71-77 to the Death Guard. My own fault, maybe I pushed too aggressive and I lost 2 money assets late game, and again it was more so the time got the better of us. But no, that was day 1, it was great. So at day 2 we get paired into Ed Watts and his Admech. Now the night before I was like, that's a loss for me. Ed's a great player. He's also, I like to call him a friend of mine. Went to LVO together. He had a great laugh. But Admech, I've played before, and they've got so many bodies. They can just tie me up. They can minus your OC, and just a nightmare for Tyranids. But unfortunately, due to his own reasonings, Ed had to leave the event, and he actually pulled out. So I'm coming into day 2, not actually knowing who I'm playing. So that kind of like took some anxiety off. And I know some people get anxiety or a bit like nervous because they want to know who they're playing, but I prefer not knowing, just turning up and just dealing with what's in front of me. So that's what we did. We turned up, waiting for an opponent, and we get paired into Imperial Guard. I was hoping it wasn't going to be loads of scions and loads of bodies. Luckily for me, it was basically 3 units of infantry and ridiculous amounts of tanks. I was like, okay, he's got 3 Rogal Dawns. One of them had a banner on it, so it's OC 8. He could move through walls for a stratagem. I just looked at the board and I was like, right, okay. My opponent went first. He moved out. He committed a few tanks. On my return back, I just thought, okay, there's 1 Rogal Dawn. Trinifaxes obliterated it. I then moved up my gaunts onto that objective in cover, and I held that point all game because he can't shoot through walls. I blocked him off so he couldn't go through the walls, and the game was just basically, you show 2 tanks to try and kill 1 monster, you kill 1 monster, in return I kill 2 tanks, and that's how the game went. He actually hardly killed any of my monsters due to great rolls, and a lot of his stuff was wounding me on 5s because his weapons are like strength 10. And his big weapons, like his strength 12 ones, were like -1 damage free, so I was tanking quite a lot, which is great for the Nids. But that was another victory for the Tyranids, yay. So now we're 3-on-1, and our final game we get paired into Ultramarines with Marnius, Double Oath, and Rabute Gilliman. So I was nervous going into it. He didn't have a lot really of firepower, but I know with that +1 to wound and Double Oath, it doesn't really matter what strength your weapons are, you can really punch up. But we played the game, we took our time, we moved blocked, we chose our targets and decimated. And as you know, as Tyranid players, we love going into elite infantry and marine bodies. We're built for them. The -2, the -3, with flat 3 damage, we just pick up Terminators and Marines all day. We also killed Rabute twice. Yes! So yeah, that was a little quick recap on my Manchester GT. It was 4-1. But just going back on what I was saying regarding my Tyranid list, and for any advice out there, like I said, I got paired into Michael. Michael had similar assets to me, but a few different alternatives. Like he ran a Broodlord and 10 Gene Stealers. There's no right or wrong way of playing Tyranids. It's down to how you want to play them. Like you can be really defensive and have a gun line, but you could also then be very fast with volume of melee. We don't have the greatest of strength and damage in melee, but with the devastating wounds and the extra strength and synapse, they can be pretty nasty. My list, I don't really have any melee threat other than 2 squads of melee gaunts, -1, hitting on 4s, and I have the Hive Tyrant, and I've actually spec'd him out so it's full melee. I used to run him with the Venom Cannon, but I just thought, because I've got so many firing platforms anyway, it'd be nice to just have that full melee send, and he's done wonders for me. So, piece of advice is, if you're playing Tyranids and you want to get competitive, don't necessarily care about data sheets. my opinion on this, and you can argue in the comments if you want to, every army is very similar in its own way. And what I mean by similar, it's everything's got something that can do damage, everything that's got something that's fast, and everything that's got something that's designed for holding OC or doing actions like a cheap unit or chaff. If you can figure out when you're going into your game what units your opponent have and their designed role, you find then it's easier to try and get the win. Okay, so there's your damage dealers. I can either focus on that to reduce their damage output, or I can ignore it and go for their killing pieces. Don't necessarily get caught up in data sheets. Let's say you could run a full army of Tyranid, let's say, and now you've been paired into a 240 body guard army. You lose, you get OOC'd, and it doesn't matter how many successful hits you get from those T-Faxes, you're only killing a maximum of 2 per Tyranid. So, and that's if they fail to save. So for me, just have a balanced list, know what your list does, and keep getting reps in it. Don't beat yourself up if you go there for your first tournament and you lose 5 games. If anything, expect to do that. For me, it's about knowing your army, knowing exactly what each role is assigned to each squad, and play the game to the best of your ability. There's always going to be hard counters. That's how the game's designed. And it might not necessarily be a hard counter in a faction, because I don't believe that is, but in how someone's tailored their list, that is where the hard counters come. So guys, my goal is to get to rank number 1, Tyranid player in the world, and hopefully you can come on this journey with me, and let's see if we can get it. Stay tuned, see you in the next one. Drop a comment down below and let me know some questions. What do you want me to talk about? Is there any particular units or detachments you want to go over? Comment down below, and guys, see you next time. Boom!